Go ahead and hop in with Dr. Sanderson, who's in studio with us. So thanks for joining us.
Hey, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being back again. We appreciate it. And let's just, I guess, going trending now, I guess you could say, with the sports and social media, has had to have been, this whole Donald Sterling thing. Just give us your thoughts on that if you could.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think one thing that's really great about studying social media is that when stories like the Sterling case break, even though they don't on their surface really have much to do with social media, that's where everybody goes to give their reaction to the case. So it's been really interesting for me to follow, the discussion that sports fans and really just people in the public are having about things like the First Amendment and an organization's, right to take this kind of step, and commenting on Adam Silver's, what essentially was his crisis communication from his press conference the other day. And the other thing, as someone who studies social media, that I find really interesting with this case is that it kind of all seemed to start with the fact that Sterling was having people spy on his woman's Instagram account. So, we get that surveillance and kind of monitoring angle that's so prominent in our society today that came out. But, that's the thing for me about social media and primarily Twitter is when a sports story of that magnitude breaks, Twitter's the place where people go to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I saw comments from everybody from, Magic Johnson to great former Knicks player Larry Johnson, but go a little more in-depth about some of the responses on Twitter. Like I said, Magic Johnson had some tweets. I know he was mentioned by name in the infamous phone call. And how much do you think the social media impact these players having an easy platform to talk to their followers about the issue? How much of an impact do you think that had on Adam Silver's decision to ban Donald Sterling?
That's a great question. I think it, my personal belief is that it had an impact on his decision making, because if we go back 20 years ago or so, I mean, when an issue like this would have happened, certainly a few players would have probably been able to comment on it in the media. But now what you have is every player, even former players, now have their own media channel, and they're getting their own opinions or their views on it out there before the decision's even made, which to me kind of tips the scale for someone like an Adam Silver, because, essentially, if we just take like LeBron James, for example, so he has several million Twitter followers, whatever, let's just say Adam Silver decided to not sanction Donald Sterling as severely as he did. Well, now you've got LeBron James being able to essentially criticize that decision to an audience of several million people. And as we all know, that's going to then get retweeted hundreds of thousands of times. And it's just going to really kind of overtake and become the dominant narrative of the story. So I think league commissioners really now have to think about the fact that when these kind of situations come about and we have to make a decision, we better be prepared for players to comment and, say things about that decision through these networks that are reaching hundreds of thousands of millions of people. And in a sense, kind of provide a way for fans and players to kind of have more of a say in this kind of process than maybe they would have before social media came about.
Right, and what do you make of this whole Jameis Winston situation? I mean, what kind of advice would you give him? I mean, just kind of, we were talking about it earlier, just kind of better for him just to maybe lay low and just stay off social media with all that's come about in the past year here.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing I would say is, as good as Publix ice cream is, if you're going to steal anything, I'd be stealing the ice cream from Publix. But beyond that, I think in this kind of situation, it definitely makes sense to not say anything at all. And that's one of the big things we talk about with sports public relations is, sometimes it's better just not to say anything. And in this case, let the university and the athletic department and Coach Martin kind of, make the statements about what happened, because I think the fact that he was saying, again, I've not really read a whole lot about it, but I believe he's saying that he just forgot to go through the checkout line. I'm a young kid and I make mistakes. I just don't know that a lot of people are buying that, given the fact that he's already been under scrutiny for potentially raping someone. So, maybe if the rape thing hadn't happened, this would be okay. But given the previous circumstances, I think he definitely probably was better off not making a statement.
Right, and if you could just touch on, Michael was talking about earlier, just kind of the feedback you had from teaching the sports and social media class this year, what you enjoyed about it, and interacting and signing day and things like that.
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, this was probably the funnest class that I've ever taught. And I think what made it so great was the fact that the class was pretty much discussion based. So, the idea was for everybody to kind of contribute and participate and give their views on different areas as it pertains to social media and sport. And we did some really fun things. So the students had the opportunity to put together some reports for the Phoenix Suns about an event they had called Suns Live Access. And so we were able to use the Social Media Listening Center over in Daniel Hall. And, the Suns hashtag that event with the hashtag Suns Live Access. So the students broke up into groups, and each group kind of, looked at a different aspect of social media as it pertained to that event and analyzed some data and then made recommendations. And then we actually turned those reports back into Jeremy McPeak, who's the Vice President of Digital for the Suns. So, that was a tremendous opportunity. And then I think the other thing that made it really great was we had just some really great guests that came in and talked in class. So Jeremy McPeak of the Suns was able to Skype in and talk to us. We had Will Vandevort from the Clemson Insider actually come into class and talk about the way social media has kind of changed, covering college sports and recruiting. We had a Google Hangout with Paul Strelo and Daniel Shirley talking about the way social media has impacted recruiting and how they do their jobs. And then I think one of the funner things I've ever done was we actually had Logan Morrison of the Mariners video chat with us. And, he was very much, how he is on Twitter is very much a reflection of he is in real life, just very sarcastic, called me out a few times, called some of the students out, all in good fun. And it was just a tremendous opportunity to actually talk to a real, or to talk to a current professional athlete about the way they use Twitter and some of the things that they think about. And so overall, I just had a great time with the class. The students were absolutely amazing, and it's been fun. Their final exam was to, in a social media post, talk about what they learned in class. So some of them did that through blogs, some of them made videos and then put those on YouTube, and it's been really fun to see, kind of what the students took away from the class, and I can't wait to teach it again.
Right, that does sound like a ton of fun, but if you could just hit a little bit on, so what kind of, is this class going to continue here at Clemson? Or, have you seen more of it pop up nationally? Has anyone contact you with interest, of their college or university starting this type of class?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely going to continue here at Clemson. It's a class on our books, and, I would anticipate that, something we offer at least once every academic year. I have actually had conversations with a number of people at different schools across the country, and I've actually had people in programs and departments here at Clemson that are like, we don't do anything from a social or digital media standpoint in our major, and that's something that a lot of employers are looking for. And so I think what you're going to start seeing is a lot of different departments here on campus. So maybe you're not a comm major, you're a PRTM major, or you're a graphics communication major. I think you're going to start seeing more departments kind of putting that kind of curriculum in, because really no matter what industry you go into, whether it's sports or anything else, social media is a big part of most industries, and the ability to use it for, business purposes, organizational purposes, to build relationships, drive messages, those sorts of things. In my opinion, that's just going to make you more competitive for jobs and internships versus somebody who doesn't have that. So I think you're definitely going to start seeing more of a trend to that for sure. And just one thing I'd add quickly for sports, I think what made our class so rich was the fact that, we used a hashtag for the class. And so by using the hashtag for the class, and each day someone was responsible for live tweeting our class discussions, we had a lot of different people from the sports industry pipe in through Twitter and share comments, observations, ask questions, which, added their insight into the course. But then for students, it gave them an opportunity to form a connection and build a connection with those people as well. So I think that kind of thing where we actually invite and encourage people in industry into our classes is something we need to definitely do more of.
Yeah, certainly. Social media has just kind of exploded onto the scene. every company seems to have a Twitter account where they can answer customer feedback, all that sort of stuff. So social media really is important in this world. But speaking of the future plans of that class and such, we know that you're moving on to a job down at Arkansas. So what kind of classes are you looking at teaching down there? Something similar to this or similar to the ones you've taught up here? And just some, what else are you planning to do down there with the new role down there at Arkansas?
Yeah, well, this is actually my fault, but I should have told you guys I'm not going to Arkansas anymore.
Ooh.
I told Michael
There we go.
on that email that you sent me. I swear he sent me an email
Well,
that
that's
said
good
he's
news.
not going to Arkansas. And then Michael said he told the class. And then so I had kind of, so I was wondering about it. But no, that's great.
Well, that's my fault.
Not going to call the Hogs. That's better. They were terrible. They were 3-9 last year anyway. So.
Yeah, no, and I apologize for that. It's been,
Oh, no.
That's good.
It's been kind of a tumultuous 7 or 8 days for me, but short version is I just really felt like this is a place I wanted to be, and we have a lot of really good opportunities here, and I'm just really excited about what the future holds for Clemson. I think our sports communication major is going to really do great things, and I really I'm a big fan of President Clements and the vision he has for Clemson, and I think he's going to do some really amazing things. So, and my family likes it here, so we're definitely excited to be staying and have some big things planned for Clemson. If you want me to talk about that.
Oh that's great
you
news.
can definitely get into that, but that's the better. Wearing that orange, and it would have been calling those Hogs over in Fayetteville.
Especially with me just being a sophomore, in a couple of years you can look at an Arkansas job, but
I don't think so. I just don't think I want to go through that again. And I think there's just so much that Clemson has to offer. For me, both professionally and then personally. I'm just really excited about some of the things that are cooking and that'll probably be coming to the forefront here in the next couple of years or so.
Right, and we are definitely excited about that. So will you be teaching any classes over the summer here, or?
Yeah, thank you. So this summer I'm actually teaching an online class in Summer 1. So if you're looking for a Summer 1 class, it's still not too late to register. It's Communication and Sport Organizations. Communication 4270 is the course number. But essentially we're going to be looking at a lot of organizational kind of issues as they pertain to sport. So fortunately I have the Donald Sterling case as a great example to use. And so if you're a league, if you're a team, how do you handle situations like that in terms of the communication about them? So we'll look at things like, crisis communication, issues like sexual harassment. If you remember, Isaiah Thomas had some issues with the Knicks a few years ago. Things like Royce White, who is a basketball player that has been diagnosed with a fear of flying, and so he was asking for the Rockets to accommodate that disability, and that kind of created some interesting issues. And so really just kind of looking at, if you're managing a sports organization, how do you kind of handle communicating about some of these issues that come up that we typically may not hear a lot about in the press, but yet still, play a big role in the organization. And then in the fall, I'm teaching COM 3240, which is sport and society. So we're looking at kind of a lot of the what I would call things we don't necessarily like to talk about in sports that might make us uncomfortable. We'll talk a lot about youth sports and parent behavior and do some fun things there. We'll talk about violence in sports, things like concussions, and also look at the amateurism system and some of the things going on with like the recent Northwestern case and those sorts of things.
Right. And, well, we'll just get your quick thoughts on that, I guess. Well, what do you make of that whole? We've kind of been of the Northwestern thing. Me and Michael, I think we can speak both of us that we've. I think the cost of living adjustment is definitely fair. What they did with the unlimited is fair, but when you start getting into the whole union thing, I think that Northwestern got the information out to their players saying that even if you don't want to join the union, you're going to have to. You're going to have to pay union dues. I don't know if all of them were buying into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been real interesting. And I guess here's the thing for me. And I say this as someone who, has had a good number of, student athletes in class and no student athletes at other universities. I think the real issue here is that I think in many cases, a lot. Not saying every athlete, and I'm not saying this is even accurate, but I think a lot of student athletes have the perception that in some cases the school and in most cases the NCAA really doesn't care about them as long as they're playing their sport. And so, I think what this is more about is things like, the cost of living adjustment, things like, medical care for concussions and injuries that are sustained and those sorts of things. And I think even to some extent maybe more of like a work-life balance kind of thing where, I think some student athletes feel like they're not really, that they're supposed to kind of subsume their studies to the sport. And so I'm not necessarily a fan of the union, but I think, I think really what needs to happen is more discussion about how do we make a more equitable system, how do we kind of get rid of some of the ridiculous things like, you can't give someone a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but North Carolina can, have a, sham major. So I think, I'm not necessarily sold that unionization is the answer, but I think they do kind of need to look at the system of governance and think about making it more participative with giving the student athletes perhaps more of a voice or a say in those things.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I think you saw them move really quickly when they, they ruled in favor of the union vote. You saw the NCAA move about as fast as it ever has in terms of the new unlimited meal plans, and I don't even know why that wasn't already in place anyway. I mean, these guys, but the thing about getting the bagel to the player or something, or going and buying them a lunch, and you're going to get a little penalty, or that's the stupidest. I mean, give me a break. But
yeah.
But no, Jim, we appreciate you coming in today. And so the two classes you will be teaching, summer class, and then in the fall. Well, we're glad to excite. I know Michael is too excited to come and to have you back. Much better being a Tiger than a Razorback. I mean,
definitely good news.
Feels better.
You got it.
Makes my fall semester that much better too.
Well, that's good to hear. So,
well, you got any baseball trips planned for the summer or anything? Or
yeah, I am planning on heading up to Greensboro for the ACC tournament to cheer on the Tigers there, and then headed to Arizona this summer to visit family. So definitely try and take in a couple Diamondbacks games.
Awesome.
Because unfortunately right now it's not very hard to get a ticket to a Diamondbacks game.
It's all right. They'll turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, they Phoenix is weird. I mean, sometime maybe if we come on again, we can talk about the sports culture between here and Phoenix. But you have so many transplants there and so many other things that people just don't come out unless the team's really, really winning. So.
Well, I guess you could almost compare it to like a Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to I was in Miami for the Orange Bowl. I didn't say one Miami hat, like University of Miami. It's just it's a different huge difference in terms of the college sports culture and all that. And so, but Jimmy, thanks again. We appreciate it again for taking the time on the last day of the semester here. So have a good summer, and I guess we'll touch base with you back in the fall.
Hey, that sounds good. I'll be looking forward to that.
Okay.